What's going on, Washington Commanders Nation? It's your boy Rio Robinson back with the latest and greatest on the Rambling with Rio YouTube channel, where we ramble about our Washington Commanders. It is time. It is Monday, July 22nd, and training camp will commence for Washington and league-wide throughout the rest of the NFL this week. By Wednesday, July 24th, all veterans will be present and the entire league will be totally entrenched in training camp. We made it. We got through this off season, and it's time to talk actual football. So going into training camp week, I've been watching a lot of NFL content again. I've been giving it a break for a minute because it gets really bad on TV when it comes to NFL content during the offseason nowadays. NFL Network is unwatchable during the offseason. And I don't really like to watch these debate shows and these radio shows, but someone I've always watched is Colin Cowherd. Because Colin, no matter what you feel about him, whether you love him, you hate him, he's a very polarizing guy. He's one of the best media journalists I've ever seen, and he's one of the more attractive, like he has one of the more attractive voices, sounds on television. I like listening to the guy. He's captivating, even if he's just bullshitting. Everything he says sounds interesting. I was watching Colin Cowherd the other day, and he goes through a division by division breakdown on his show of how he thinks divisions will stack up, and then he predicts the 7 playoff teams for each conference. And definitely made my eyebrows perk up a little bit when I watched this, because I was like, what are we doing here, Colin? Why are we putting expectations on my football team, Colin? But he went through the NFC East, and he had the Eagles winning the division, which they're probably favorite to do so. And he had Washington, the Commanders, at number 2 in the division. Beautiful. Love it. Don't know how we get there in year 1, but it would be fire, considering this is one of the most topsy-turvy up and down divisions in all of football. You never know. We could fuck around and win the division this year, because nobody's won this division in consecutive years since 2004, Chunky Soup Donovan McNabb era. We go to the NFC Championship every year and lose Philadelphia Eagles. Hasn't happened since. Dallas won it last year. So us, Philly, and New York would have the upper hand in winning it this year if we're going according to the pattern of the division for the last 20 years. But I'm looking at Colin's playoff prediction here. I'm looking at the teams on this list. He's got the Eagles winning the division, the Falcons winning the South instead of Tampa returning to the playoffs this year. He has the Lions winning their division again, the Rams winning the West over the 49ers. Very interesting. And then he has his 3 wild card team, the Niners, which were the Super Bowl runner-ups last year, Washington, who went 4-13 last year, and Jordan Love-led Green Bay Packers, rounding out his playoff group. So the teams he took out were the Cowboys and the Buccaneers. Let's have a discussion. Don't care about the AFC. We're not talking about the AFC. Washington plays in the NFC. Washington is going to leapfrog the Bucs and the Cowboys this year. We open up the season with the Bucs, so that's going to be an early litmus test of how we stack up against a playoff team who actually had a chance to go to the NFC Championship last year. They played Detroit very well in Detroit in that dome, and they had a chance to go to the NFC Championship. So they are no slouch. I know they lost their offensive coordinator, lost a couple players. Shaq Barrett just retired, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not a slouch. But in that division, the Atlanta Falcons should, on paper, come in and win that division, because all they were missing for real, was a consistent quarterback. They have a good defense. They have very good skill players on offense. They just don't have anybody throwing them the ball. They had a Jiffy Lube mechanic throwing them the ball all season, and I mean that out of their starter and their backup, Desmond Ridder, and Washington's former quarterback, Taylor Heineke. Bunch of mechanics throwing the football to Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and company. But I can see why you put Atlanta in the NFC South. The NFC East, that's a very interesting conversation. I hate Dallas. Dallas is my arch nemesis. Can't stand them, despise them. You know, we welcome their fans on the channel, but you know, there's just an ongoing rivalry. We're like Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai. If you watch the show, if you know, you know. But we're arch nemesis on a regular basis. But I'm not sure I'm ready to just have us leapfrog the team that won a division last year. I know they got mollywopped, pulverized, embarrassed in the wild card round when Jordan Love and company came up there and took their lunch at AT&T Stadium last year in the first round of the playoffs. I enjoyed every second of it. But Dallas is one of the more balanced teams in the NFL. They have a great offense and a great defense. Did they lose Dan Quinn? Yes. Did they lose some pieces? Yes, but their main ingredients to the recipe still exist there. And barring injury, knock on wood, because I don't want any team affected by injury. I don't want Washington plagued by injury, and I don't want other teams plagued by injury. I know some people are looking for that competitive advantage, but I don't want nobody getting injured on anybody's team. And it seems like it would take an injury or so or something catastrophic for Dallas to just not make the playoffs this year. But you never know. They are a very unpredictable team. We know how they choke in the playoffs every year. Three things that will always remain in life: death, taxes, and Dallas post-90s choking when the playoffs get here. It's going to always happen. But from September through the first week of January, Dallas is usually gangbusters. If they're healthy, they're usually kicking ass in the regular season. Like, they're good for a 10 to 13 win season a lot of times. Does it ever get them anywhere or punch their ticket to a Super Bowl of such? Absolutely not. But I think this is a bold strategy, Cotton. It's a bold strategy to have Washington sitting there. Maybe we've reached the point where the media has had Cowboys fatigue. You know, they're NFL Disney, NFL Apple, the name brand, despite the fact that they have not succeeded in a very long time. They end up at the topic of everyone's conversation every day about something. We'll see. This could be Dak's last year in Dallas. I would love to see Dallas just have to rebuild, reboot, and start over. But let's talk about Washington. Washington, we went 4-13 last year. The whole roster feels like it's different. The entire front office feels like it's different. The entire coaching staff is different. They've already bought into Dan Quinn as a person. I was talking to my boy DMV Fanatic. Shout out my boy Johnny that does content for the Dallas Cowboys. His son works out with Coach Savage, and Coach Savage trains a lot of Washington players. He told me he ran into Brian Robinson when his son was working out, and they had a little chit chat at the field. And he said Brian Robinson just lit up talking about Dan Quinn. He lit up talking about him, and you can tell that boy is really excited to play for Dan Quinn. And you can tell there's a difference between the way he talked about him and the way that guys talked about the last coaches. It almost felt like at the end of Ron Rivera that players started feeling sympathy and started feeling sorry for the guy and felt like he was over his head. But you can tell guys are buying into what Dan Quinn is instilling here in the rest of the coaching staff, a coaching staff that is hungry, experienced, former coordinators, former head coaches. We have a litany of guys that are ready to come in and teach these guys immediately. Now, does that translate to immediate success? Fuck no. It's the NFL. I know the parity's crazy, and every year we see a team go from worst to first. Would it be cool if it was us? Yes. But cautionary tale, I want all fans to not put these expectations on the team. I'm seeing people going around with 9 and 10 win predictions. If those things were to happen, kumbaya, hallelujah, we are going streaking in the streets of the DMV. But don't go into the season with those kind of expectations. I realize we get a complete baptism of our organization from top to bottom. 20-something new players, full coaching staff, a real GM in the building, and most importantly, an ownership group that actually wants to see this team succeed. But, big but, we're in year one, guys. Let it happen organically. Give these guys some time. Don't let them go in with lofty expectations or pressure. We have a rookie quarterback, a quarterback that has to embrace and develop his marriage with our offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff was out of the NFL for about a year, went to college, went to go work as like an assistant in USC. They need time to gel. We know the defense is going to immediately be significantly better than last year. Come on now. The linebacker room alone, Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner instead of Cody Barton, Jamin Davis, and David Mayo, like Jesus Christ. That alone, you just added 300 tackles and 7 sacks from last season to your defense this season. The cornerback position and the safeties, we're going to see. Jeremy Chin is playing for a contract, and I think we see a revitalization, a rejuiced upness of the Alabama wall. Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, I think they finally got some coaches that speak their language, speak their defensive language, and speak their language of accountability. And we get a fresh start at the edge spot. The defense is going to be way better, period. This team will go as far as this year and beyond. This team will go as far as the development of one number 2 overall pick, Jaden Daniels, and his relationship with Cliff Kingsbury. If Jaden can speak the offense fluently, like we've heard he spoke all offseason, if he can go out and produce as a rookie, sure, we have a chance to be in these playoff prediction conversations by end of year, but nobody should be expecting it. We know Jaden Daniels is an experienced college quarterback who started 55 games in college. So would it be surprising if he came in and lit it up off rip? No, it wouldn't. But pause. Wait for it. Let it happen. We should not be expecting a rookie quarterback to just catapult our team straight to the playoff. Chicago should. The fact that Chicago's not on this list is interesting because Chicago has put their rookie quarterback in a double-edged sword situation because while they're providing him the best setup, especially offensively, we've ever seen a rookie quarterback have in Caleb Williams with Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, Cole Kmet. They have pieces and a really good offensive line in Chicago and a really good defense in Chicago. Their coach and their GM on the fucking hot seat this year. So they have expectations, lofty ones in year one for Caleb. He doesn't have time to get his beak wet there. They're like, fam, we weren't the worst team in football last year. We won 7 games last year with a potential running back playing quarterback. So they expect number 1 overall pick to come in and take them straight to the playoffs because they got asses on seats and they could be fired by end of season. They have to win year one. Jaden's not in that situation. Jaden is in a situation where the coach and the GM were both hired this year, meaning the coach, the quarterback, and the GM are all on a 5-year timeline, and each one's success is directly predicated off of one another. So allow it to organically take place. Allow us to improve over time. If we get there in year one, let's fucking go. Clap it up. We really building. But also, if we win 7 or 8 games in year one of Jaden, Quinn, Adam Peters, a 4-game improvement, 3 or 4 game improvement, it's about the eye test. It's about developing, learning to compete. And the eye test is the quarterback growing exponentially as the season goes on. Is he not repeating the same mistakes? Are the players on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, is the communication, like, is it effective? Are guys understanding what the coaches are saying? Because we watched our last regime coach here for 4 years, and even through the 4th year, guys that have been there for 4 years were still miscommunicating the scheme and assignments time after time. Defensive gaffe, offensive gaffe. No one spoke the same language. Washington needed a big-ass football class of Duolingo for the last 4 years. So you will see if this coaching staff is effectively getting to and through to these players. That's all I want. I'm not predicting no playoffs. Before I do my game-by-game prediction before the season starts, I'll let you know right now. My prediction falls somewhere in the 6 to 8 range. I refuse to go higher than that. I want them to show me, and I want them to take their time. Rome was not built in a day, and I'm not looking for microwaved food. Fuck a hot pocket. I want cuisine. I want all the ingredients put together to make a lovely meal of sustenance. I'm not looking for junk food anymore with this team. I've seen it before. I've seen the pointless win streaks. I've seen the Mickey Mouse. I don't want to be Mickey Mouse no more. I want to get to Magic Kingdom. I want to see my team get there. And I want to see us have a franchise quarterback who gives us a chance to get there on a yearly basis. Thank you, Colin Cowherd, for believing in us. And I see a lot of teams calling us a sleeper team, the Brian Baldingers of the world. I see a lot of teams including us as their sleeper team because they love Dan Quinn and they love Adam Peters and they are really high on Jaden Daniels. It feels nice to be wanted. It feels nice to be liked. It feels nice that the karma and the respect surrounding this team is taking a 360 compared to what it's been the last 25 years. But what I say to all of you is pump the fucking brakes and let it happen over time. That's all I got for right now. Until next time, hail to the Washington Commanders. Veterans reported last week. Rookies reported last week. Veterans report tomorrow. Practices start between Wednesday or Thursday. Camp opens up to the public Sunday, the 28th. The Hall of Fame game between the Bears and the Texans is on Thursday, August 1st. And then the following week, Friday, Saturday, Washington opens up its preseason against Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets in the Meadowlands. I'm excited. It's time that we start getting daily updates about practice. It's time to play the who's winning, who's losing game. It's time to get to it about this content. Deuces.